Alright, this video is about me replacing the passenger side, i.e. right-hand side top mount of my engine on my 3.2 Volvo NA 2010. What you're seeing me do now, I'm not going to get into a bunch of detail around it, but obviously you need to be able to support the engine from underneath the vehicle so that when you take that mount out, the engine doesn't fall downwards. So I'm removing the splash pan, or the splash cover, the engine cover. Now what I'm doing is installing a jack, and I'm grabbing a nice wide 2x6. And I'm going to put that 2x6 on the jack, and that will allow me to support the engine from underneath without putting undue pressure on one piece of the oil pan. Works well. You just jack it up until you see the engine start to move a little bit, and then you're good to go. Just make sure that the jack is locked so that it doesn't lower over time, and then you can do the rest of the work. That's an 8mm screw that holds the coolant reservoir in place. You got to take that out, which I just did. And then you have to wiggle very carefully to lift the coolant reservoir upwards. Now, a word of caution, those two plastic hoses that come out the front of that coolant reservoir are very brittle. Ideally you're doing this after having drained the coolant, but it was cold and I was in a hurry and I didn't want to do that. So just be very gentle with these hoses, and also take the engine cover off earlier than I did. It just gives the hoses a little bit more room for maneuvering. Alright, you got to take out the torque mount first to get access to the bolts underneath. So these are all 15mm screws. You will need an extension and to get to some of them. And then get yourself a nice long 1/2-inch ratchet, because each of these is on at 60 foot-pounds, so they can be tough to take off. So, with the engine suspended from underneath, it's tight. is old mount versus new mount. New mount versus old mount. You can tell one has collapsed, the other's brand new. So that's when you know you've got a failed mount. Put it back in, slip it back in. Actually, I think this goes here, the big one. Yeah. Big. Two, three. This one's trickier to get to, but ideally get it into place. Take this out. I'd say do these first. Let's see. Okay. It's a 60 foot-pound. Set the torque wrench to 60 foot-pound. There we go. One. Just try not to lose my socket here. Two. Three. Okay. Goes there. This. Be very careful not to pinch that wiring for the fuel injector. You can see it just below the bolt on the right-hand side. It would be very easy to squeeze that underneath that engine mount bracket, and then you'll have a second job on your hands. Go. Oh, there we go. Now I'd say lift the engine a bit. There we go. What you saw me doing there was I jacked up the engine a little bit higher, just so that the engine mount bracket can sit flush on top of that cam cover. Go. And 60 foot-pounds again. There you go. 60 foot-pounds again. Foot-pounds again. Jesus. There we go, 60 foot-pounds. Let's put this back on. Doesn't matter. So, short is here. pins. There. Carefully do this. This is so risky. Don't like this at all. There we go. These are really brittle. Okay. Have to be really careful with these PVC, whatever they are, plastic pipes. I'm not being that careful. So was everything torqued? Yes. Back into the slot. There we go. Lost a little bit of coolant, that's okay. This back. Cover back on. There we go. Throw out the old mount.